The wind in London has a way of biting through even the most expensive cashmere. I stood there in the heart of a bustling plaza, surrounded by the laughter of my friends, girls whose handbags cost more than the average person's annual salary. We were the elite, the untouchables. But that afternoon, my eyes weren't on the luxury storefronts. They were fixed on a man standing on a wooden crate, holding a worn book. He was talking about a God who loved the broken, a God who called himself the Way. I felt a surge of familiar programmed heat rise in my chest. It was the arrogance of my bloodline, the pride of Riyadh, the conviction that I possessed the only truth while the rest of the world wandered in filth. I stepped forward, my voice cutting through his sermon like a blade. "How dare you?" I shouted, my English perfect and biting. "And how dare you stand here and peddle your lies? Your God is a man, and your book is a corruption. You are a fool chasing a ghost." My friends giggled behind their manicured hands. I felt the rush of power that comes with public humiliation. I looked at the man, expecting anger or fear. Instead, he looked at me with a profound, quiet sadness. It wasn't the look of a loser. It was the look of a father watching a child walk toward a cliff. Suddenly, the air around me turned ice cold. It wasn't the London breeze, it was a spiritual chill that settled deep in my marrow. My tongue felt heavy, like lead. The insult I was about to hurl next died in my throat. For a split second, the noise of the plaza vanished. I saw a flicker of something in my mind. A light so bright it made my physical surroundings look like a dim shadow. I stumbled back, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Amira, are you okay?" one of my friends asked, reaching for my arm. I brushed her off, my breath coming in shallow gasps. I was 24 years old, a princess of the House of Saud, a woman who had everything the world could offer. And in that moment, I realized I was utterly, terrifyingly empty. My name is Amira. I was born into the gold and the granite of the Saudi royal family. I was raised to believe that my worth was found in my lineage and my submission to a distant, demanding deity. But what happened next, what started in that plaza and ended in a miracle, changed everything. Before I tell you how a princess lost her crown to find a king, I want to ask you something. If you're searching for a truth that doesn't just demand your life but actually gives you a new one, please stay with me. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it. There are so many lost royals out there, trapped in cages of gold, who need to know that the light is looking for them too. Let's walk through the fire together. Growing up in Riyadh is like living inside a beautiful, high-definition dream that you aren't allowed to wake up from. My childhood was a blur of marble hallways, private jets, and the constant rhythmic sound of the adhan echoing over the city. My father was a man of immense power, a shadow that stretched over our entire household. He was the pillar of our family's religious reputation. To the world, we were the keepers of the faith. But inside the walls of our villa, that faith felt like a heavy shroud. I remember watching my mother. She was a queen in public, draped in the finest silks and diamonds. But in the quiet of her quarters, I saw the lines of exhaustion on her face. She followed every rule, performed every salah with precision, yet she always seemed to be waiting for a blow that never came. She was serving a God she was afraid of, and I was learning to do the same. I became an expert at the mosque. I memorized the verses. I covered myself in the abaya with a sense of superiority. I looked down on the infidels we encountered during our summers in Europe. I told myself that their freedom was just a lack of discipline, a sign of their inevitable destruction. But there was a gnawing hunger in me that no palace feast could satisfy. I would sit on my prayer mat, performing the prostrations, and feel nothing, just the cold floor against my forehead. I would cry out in my heart, "Are you there? Do you see me? Or am I just a number in your ledger of sins?" There was no answer. Only the silence of a desert. I started to hate that silence. To drown it out, I became louder in my mockery of others. I thought if I could prove everyone else wrong, it would somehow make me right. I was a princess with a hollow throne, a believer with a dead heart, waiting for a spark in a life made of cold stone. After that day in the London Plaza, the silence changed. It wasn't empty anymore. It felt heavy, like the air before a lightning strike. I returned to our family's London estate, dismissing my servants and locking the door to my suite. I tried to distract myself with my phone, with shopping, with the mindless chatter of my social circle. But the street preacher's eyes haunted me. Why did he look at me with love? That night, I fell into a sleep that felt more like a descent. I found myself in a desert, not the rolling dunes of my home, but a vast white expanse that glowed with its own internal light. I was alone, stripped of my silk robes, standing in a simple white tunic. Then I saw him. He didn't approach from the horizon. He was simply there. He wasn't a man in the way I understood it. He was a presence. Light seemed to pour out of his skin, not reflecting off him, but originating from within him. I couldn't look directly at his face. It was like trying to stare into the sun. But I felt his gaze. It wasn't the gaze of my father, heavy with judgment. It was a gaze that knew every secret I had ever kept. I expected him to strike me down. I had mocked his followers. I had spat on his name. I waited for the fire. Instead, he spoke. His voice didn't rattle my ears. It vibrated in my very soul. "Amira," he said. My name sounded like music when he spoke it. "Why do you persecute the one who loves you?" I fell to my knees. The sand felt cool, like water. I wanted to scream, to apologize, to argue, but all I could do was weep. It was a weeping that came from years of being a perfect princess, years of fear, years of trying to earn a love that was always conditional. "Who are you?" I whispered. "I am the one you have been looking for in the dark," he replied. I woke up with a jolt, my heart racing. My silk sheets were soaked with sweat. But for the first time in 24 years, the crushing weight on my chest was gone. In its place was a peace so thick I could almost taste it. It was a peace that defied every logic of my upbringing. I was terrified, all because I knew that if this man was real, my entire world was a lie. For the next few weeks, I lived a double life. By day, I was the princess, attending dinners and smiling for the cameras. By night, I was a spy in my own room. I downloaded a Bible app, hiding it deep in a folder of finance apps. I began to read. I started with the Gospel of Matthew, and when I hit the Sermon on the Mount, my world tilted on its axis. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. I had spent my life hearing about a God who demanded blood and submission, a God who kept a tally of my failures. But here was a king who asked for my heart. Here was a father of mercies, instead of a master of slaves. I realized then that my mockery in the plaza hadn't been about the preacher. It had been a defense mechanism. I was terrified that Christianity might be true, because if it was, I wasn't a princess because of my blood. I was a daughter because of his. The internal rift became agonizing. I would stand in the mosque, going through the motions of the Jumu'ah prayer, but my heart was crying out, "Jesus, help me. Jesus, show me more." I was terrified of being caught, but I was more terrified of going back to the way I was before. I was falling in love with a man my family considered a blasphemy. The gilded cage finally snapped shut on a Tuesday afternoon. My younger cousin, a girl I had shared everything with, was playing with my phone when a notification popped up. It was a verse of the day. "I am the way, the truth, and the life. She didn't say anything to me. She went straight to my father. Within an hour, I was summoned to the grand study. The air was thick with the scent of expensive oud and the cold dread of an impending storm. My father sat behind his desk, my phone lying face up on the mahogany surface like a dead bird. "What is this, Amira?" His voice was a low, dangerous rumble. I felt the blood drain from my face. I could have lied. I could have said it was a virus, a mistake, a curiosity. But the peace I had found in that London suite was still there, a small flame in the center of the hurricane. "It is the truth, Father," I said, my voice trembling. The explosion wasn't physical, at least not at first. It was a psychological dismantling. He didn't hit me. He destroyed me with words. He spoke of the shame I was bringing to the House of Saud. He spoke of my mother. I know who would be cast out because of my insanity. He called in an Imam who spent hours shouting verses of punishment at me, trying to cleanse my mind. "You will recant," my father commanded. "You will go on camera and swear your loyalty to the Prophet and the house, or you will cease to exist. We will tell the world you died of a sudden illness. You will rot in a facility until your mind returns." My mother knelt at my feet, sobbing, clutching my abaya. "Amira, please, for me, just say the words. You don't have to mean them, just say them." That was the hardest part, the emotional blackmail, seeing the woman who gave me life shattered because of my faith. I felt like a monster. For a moment, I almost gave in. I opened my mouth to say the words of the Shahada, to buy my safety. But as I looked up, I didn't see the angry faces of my family. I saw the man in the desert. I felt his hand on my shoulder. "I cannot," I whispered. They took me back to Saudi Arabia on a private flight. No one spoke to me. I was taken to a remote villa, a luxury prison. My windows were barred with decorative ironwork, and the doors were guarded 24/7. They took my passport, my phone, and every book I owned. This was my dark night of the soul. Weeks turned into months. The isolation was designed to break me. I had no Bible, no preacher, no Christian friends. I only had my memory. I would sit on the floor and try to remember the verses I had read. "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." There were days when I screamed at the walls. "Where are you, Jesus? You said you loved me. Why am I in this cage?" I felt the old shadows of Islam creeping back. The idea that God was punishing me for my rebellion. I felt abandoned. One night, when the heat was so stifling I could barely breathe, I curled into a ball on the cold marble floor. I felt I was at the end of my strength. In the absolute silence of the desert night, I heard a whisper. It wasn't in my ears. It was in the center of my being. "I am the way. Even here, even in this room, I am the way." I realized then that they could take my palace, my title, and my freedom, but they couldn't take the presence. I began to pray, not the memorized Arabic lines, but a conversation. I told him about my fears, my anger, and my love. That villa stopped being a prison and became a sanctuary. I was a princess again, but this time, my kingdom was not of this world. My father decided on a final cure. He arranged a marriage. The suitor was a high-ranking official, a man known for his strict adherence to traditional law. My father believed that a husband and a household of my own would force me back into submission. The day of the formal meeting arrived. I was dressed in a gown that cost more than a house, my face painted to hide the paleness of my imprisonment. I was led into the reception hall like a prize horse. My father looked at me with a smirk, thinking he had won. "Amira has been unwell," he told the suitor, "but she is ready to fulfill her duties." The suitor nodded, his eyes cold and transactional. I looked at my father. I looked at the man who wanted to own me. And then I looked at the empty space beside me, knowing I wasn't alone. "I will not marry him," I said. The room went silent, and you could hear the hum of the air conditioning. "Amira," my father hissed. "I cannot marry a man who serves a shadow," I said, my voice gaining a strength I didn't know I possessed. "My heart belongs to Isa al-Masih. He is my king. He is my husband. You can kill this body, but you cannot have my soul. It has already been bought." The scandal was nuclear. My father's face turned a shade of purple I will never forget. He stood up and struck me across the face, the first time he had ever touched me in anger. I fell, but I didn't cry. I looked up at him with pity. "You are disowned," he spat. "You are no longer a daughter of this house. You are a curse. You will be handled." He walked out, leaving me on the floor. I knew what handled meant, but as I lay there, the copper taste of blood in my mouth, I felt a strange, soaring joy, and the mask was gone. I was finally, truly, free. That night, I waited for the guards to come and take me to the correction facility, or worse. But instead, the door to my room creaked open at 3 a.m. It was Zara, an elderly servant who had been with our family since I was a baby. She held a bundle of plain clothes and a set of keys. Her eyes were wide with terror. "Princess, go," she whispered. "Zara, why are you doing this? They will kill you," I said. She pressed a small wooden cross into my hand. My heart stopped. "I have served him in secret for 30 years, she whispered, her voice trembling. "He told me tonight is the night. There is a car waiting at the service gate. A brother will take you to the border." It was a sequence of miracles. The guards, usually vigilant, were mysteriously asleep in their station. The gates, which required biometric codes, were already bypassed. It was as if a hand was clearing a path through the desert. As we reached the final checkpoint near the airport, a black SUV pulled alongside us. My brother, Khalid, stepped out. My heart sank. Khalid was the one I loved most, the one who shared my childhood secrets. He looked at me through the window, his hand on his sidearm. He knew. He had seen the security footage. I stepped out of the car. I didn't run. I walked up to him and looked him in the eye. "Khalid," I said softly, "I'm not leaving because I hate you. I'm leaving because I found life. I wish you could see the light I see. It doesn't want your fear, brother. It wants your heart." I saw his hand tremble. The tough royal protector was gone for a second, and I saw the little boy I used to play with. And he looked at the cross Sarah had given me. He looked at the peace on my face. A peace he didn't have despite all his power. He stood aside. "Go," he choked out, "before I change my mind. If I ever see you again, I have to kill you. So never come back." I touched his cheek one last time. "He loves you, Khalid." I walked toward the terminal, not looking back. I was leaving everything. My family, my wealth, my country. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid. Today, I live in a small one-bedroom apartment in a city where no one knows my name. I work as a translator. I take the bus. I cook my own meals. To my old friends in Riyadh, I am a tragedy. A fallen princess living a peasant's life. But they don't understand. When I was a princess, I was a slave to my pride, a slave to my fear, and a slave to a religion that felt like a cold stone. My crown was a chain that kept me from the truth. Now, I have a different kind of royalty. I am a daughter of the Most High God. When I pray, I don't talk to a distant judge. I talk to a friend who bled for me. I don't wear a veil to hide my shame. I wear his righteousness to show his glory. Leaving Islam cost me everything the world says is valuable. It cost me my family, my safety, and my inheritance. But what is a palace compared to the presence of Jesus? What is $1 billion compared to the assurance that I will live forever with the one who called my name in the desert? if you are watching this and you feel that same emptiness I felt in the plaza, if you are tired of the rules, the fear, and the silence, I want you to know that the King is looking for you. He doesn't want your perfection. He wants you. My name is Amira. I am no longer a princess of Saudi Arabia. I am a follower of Jesus Christ, and I have never been more royal than I am right now. Will you follow him too? He is waiting just outside your gilded cage. All you have to do is step into the light.